There are a lot of Republicans, though, who are not cautious at all. In fact, they've thrown caution to the winds. Some are not only proclaiming Trump's complete innocence, not knowing, obviously, the fact pattern here, but also calling for Bragg to be indicted and jailed. Rand Paul is one of them. He tweeted, and I quote, "A Trump indictment would be a disgusting abuse of power. The DA should be put in jail." All right, so then he was asked on camera, well, jail's a big thing to say. How come you feel this way, Senator? And here's what he said.
In your mind, what law did he break where he may need to go to jail?
I think we'll stick with just what we tweeted out, if you want to report that.
Senator Paul, what law did Alvin Bragg break that needs to go to jail? Why do you think he needs to be in jail? Senator Paul?
Senator Paul, what did you mean by your tweet that you thought the Manhattan DA should be jailed? Senator Paul, what did you mean by your tweet that the Manhattan DA should be jailed?
So, Jonah, no answer. Obviously, Rand Paul doesn't know the full facts of the case. No one does. The lawyers sitting here don't know exactly what Bragg has or does not have. Is Senator Paul's call for Bragg to be jailed over the line or not?
It's silly. It's stupid. It's boob bait and fan service for a Twitter audience. Is it? But I think, if you take a step back, it is of a piece with this larger dynamic, right? Where Donald Trump comes to Washington, gets elected president, violates all sorts of norms, forget laws for a second, just like norms, traditions, customs, probity. Right. He violates it all, bull in a china shop. And that gives permission to his enemies to violate norms, to go beyond, to go too far, to go, go for the jugular, to do politics as the crow flies, rather than go through the right processes. And now we have this tit for tat thing where it's elicited what I think is, I agree entirely with Van Jones, that this is a fraught case to bring first against the former president of the United States. But you had a prosecutor run for office saying he was going to go after Donald Trump, which is a norm violation too. And now you got people responding to that. There's a right-wing radio guy, Jesse Kelly, talking about how you have to start indicting all the Democrats. This is the kind of eye for an eye logic that Trump brings in, and he brings out the worst in his enemies.
I love the politics as the crow flies analogy. I hope, Jonah, I'll credit you on it, but I use that one again because it says something, right? Norms matter, right? Norms and rules matter. And FAA matters. So Karen, here's the thing, though, the conversation that we're having, that you can go and watch a Fox point of view right now or an MSNBC point of view now, and these jurors could do that. They're not sequestered. They're 23 people. They are, in the midst of this media storm as well. Is that concerning?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, it's very concerning, but hopefully they are instructed to only listen to the evidence and only consider the evidence. And hopefully that's what they're doing here. And frankly, if this doesn't get indicted, given the lower standard probable cause, then they would never make it beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's good to do this now, put all the evidence in now, and if they can get an indictment, then it goes forward. If not, then it shouldn't have.
So Ryan, now back to what we heard Joe Tacopina say, right? Talking about this as a Pandora's box, it's all bad for the president. Now, that was in 2018. You saw him talking to Don Lemon there and Laura Coates. And again, 2018, that's when Stormy Daniels was maybe looking for representation. So maybe that's what he was, the audience he was speaking to. But he didn't have the facts he has now. I mean, it just doesn't look good, right? His whole takeaway is this is terrible for the president. Now he's the guy going on the airwaves day after day. He is the defense attorney for the president.
Yeah, he did a bunch of interviews and a lot of appearances on CNN in 2018 around that time. He made other statements as well that a lot of people were saying, like, this raises certain campaign finance issues, which he's saying the diametric
right. He was
opposite.
The one who was bringing that into the conversation.
Yeah, which that's the stretchy argument here, which is, does hush money count as a campaign contribution? There he is on TV saying it does, and now he's saying the opposite, and it's very unusual for somebody to be doing that. And it's also very unusual because he also said on CNN that he was consulted by Stormy Daniels. He said that in 2018, and he refused to answer certain questions, saying attorney-client privilege because of that consultation.
Right, and it's amazing that he's now in this position. All right, so Van, Trump obviously is, raising money off of all this. There's the reporting that he wants to be handcuffed. He thinks this is all great for him, or at least he's pretending he thinks that it's all great for him.
Yeah.
If they don't indict, obviously that's a win for him in certain ways. And if they do, he thinks it's a win for him in other ways.
Yeah.
Is it a win-win?
Well, that means it's Wednesday. In other words, that's the Donald Trump phenomenon. Like
Right.
whatever happens, he figures out some way to make it work for him. He's like a sinister Ferris Bueller. You know what I mean? He just gets away with stuff, and it just drives people nuts. But the idea that he's fundraising off of this. What about the false advertising? He says, I'm going to get arrested on Tuesday. Send me money. Everybody sends him the money. He's not arrested. I mean, he's unbelievable, the stuff he gets away with.
Right. I mean, Joe, and it is amazing. He did say he was being arrested on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I think short term this helps him. There's this sort of rally around him thing that happens, sort of like what happened with Mar-a-Lago. But I think long term this is probably really bad for him because it fuels this feeling of, man, there's just always something with this guy. And like it fuels this idea that there's drama, that he invites these problems, and that the amount of baggage he would have. Because remember, if they indict him now, they're also going to probably indict him for the Georgia stuff,
Right.
and then for the federal stuff. And that's a lot of indictments. That's just a lot of drip, drip, drip. And at some point, you can see people saying, "Look, I think they treated him unfairly, but it's just too muchness with this guy. Let's get a fresh start."
Again, too much muchness. Politics as a crow flies. Okay, and thank you all so much. I appreciate it.